And he said, just read that book and think about it. Harry read the book. He made all the changes 100% overnight, goes back for his next appointment, still thinking, I've got to get this heart transplant. How are things going? The doctors took him off the list. Within, I don't know if it was 3-4 months. That's been 3 years ago. He still doesn't need a heart transplant.
Welcome back, guys, to another edition of Raw Intuition Inside Scoop. Today we have an incredible episode for you. We've actually got double the fun today. We've got two guests, Mark and Wanda Fuhrman, and they run the National Health Association, which is an organization that is advocating the gold standard of whole food, plant-based diet and lifestyle since 1948. So if you haven't heard of them, definitely check them out. We're going to put all the details in the description box down below. But Mark and Wanda have very inspiring stories. So we're going to get into their stories, but we're also going to talk about an exciting event that's coming up, which is the NHA's 75th annual conference, which brings together so many of the whole food plant-based doctors and advocates out there that you've probably heard about, maybe some that you haven't. And they're sharing incredible information to help you take your health and your life into your own hands. The special thing about right now is that there is an early bird pricing for $97 that you can, again, check the details in the description box down below. I want to just give a little introduction to Mark and Wanda. Attorney Mark Fuhrman is the president of the National Health Association and editor of the Health Science magazine, which is an incredible magazine that I have here. This is one of their editions that it is just packed with incredible information about plant-based living and natural health that the members of the NHA receive. So we'll talk about being a member of the NHA as well. Mark has adhered to a whole food, plant-based vegan diet since birth in 1951. And for nearly all of Mark's adult life, his greatest passion has been supporting the work of the National Health Association, which Mark became a member of its board of directors when he was 18 years old and was actually elected its youngest president at, I believe, the age of 26 in 1977. So that's really cool. Wanda retired just recently, just a few years ago, January 1st, 2020, after 30 years in the casualty insurance industry as a regional claims manager, to then become the NHA's full-time executive director. Wanda has been attending NHA conferences since 1991 and has personally managed their sold-out conferences since 2017. She personifies the blessings, vitality, and personal empowerment the NHA lifestyle can offer. So Mark and Wanda, thank you so much for joining the channel and everything you're doing to move forward the NHA's mission to bring lifestyle medicine to healthcare and to the general public at large. So thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. So to start off, guys, let's start with Wanda. Would you like to give the viewers just a little more information about this year's NHA conference and what they can expect when they sign up? And again, guys, the link is in the description box down below for you to do that.
Yeah, I really think I'm giving this information in my sleep. It's what I've been doing 24/7 lately. I'm really excited about the platform we're using because it's not only live streaming, it's really interactive. So you sign up, you're going to be on the Hop-In platform, and there are so many things you can do. You will be able to view exhibitor booths. You will be able to network one-on-one. You will be able to jump into groups. You'll be able to participate in raffles. You're going to get a swag bag. You'll be able to follow behind the scenes. The virtual audience is actually going to get quite a bit more content than our in person, because when we break for meals, we're going to go around and do other things. There'll be somebody speaking. We'll show you a little bit about the meals. It is my goal. It is not my promise, but it is a goal of mine that I will finalize the menus. I'm meeting with the chef next week, And if I can get it printed in an e-cookbook, I'm going to have that available for the virtual audience. And you can even cook along and enjoy some of the things that we're having at the conference. And better yet, we have a bonus. It's scheduled to start Friday, but we always have so many people come in internationally and from the West Coast that I've started bonus sessions on Thursday. And we're just going to include the virtual audience. So come along on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. Vitamix is a huge supporter. I don't know if your fans know that they were founded 100 years ago on the philosophy of whole food. And so it works really well. They're local here in Ohio. So they'll be at the conference, their head chef. They'll be doing a demo on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And then we're going to show the documentary From Food to Freedom and have a Q&A afterwards. And then Friday morning, we all head out, go to Vitamix World Headquarters for a tour, go on hikes. We just get outside, enjoy activity for Friday morning. We'll come back at 1:30 and we will be kicking off with Brittany Giroudi. So join us. And then the best thing for those that can't stick with us from Friday at 1:30 till Sunday at 5, just know that we're going to keep the replays available for you for at least a year, probably longer. So for $97, you're going to get over 60 hours of content broken down by speaker, and you're going to have a year to watch it. And you're even going to get to participate in the Q&A. When my live audience is asking the doctors questions, I've got somebody monitoring the chat. And so you'll ask a question, I'll run back with the mic and I'll say, Matt from Raw Intuition has a question about cardiology, and put Dr. Williams on or whoever. So you'll participate every way possible.
Nice. Yeah, that's great that people get to interact and actually, get their questions answered, and it's not just viewing from the computer. That's really cool. So you've been managing the conferences since 2017, but you've been attending since 1991. So I'm just curious how the conference has maybe evolved over time. And then, what makes or what are you excited about in terms of like where the conference is moving?
Nobody's asked me that. What a fun question. When I first met Mark, I didn't know anything about veganism. So what does he do? He takes me to a natural hygiene conference. I'm going to learn a lot. And at those conferences, the meals were primarily raw. There might be one lunch where they serve baked potatoes. And so they had these huge salad bars, but it would be whole romaine lettuce leaves. Tomatoes might be cut in half. Peppers might be cut in half. But it was plentiful, but it was just raw food. And you had to work to make your salad. And the speakers were dynamic. They were 5 days back then because early on, there was no internet. It was like the only place that you could get information. Mark and I each had a child from a prior marriage, so we were raising 2 young kids. We took them to the conferences. They met other children at conferences, which is great. And so many of the doctors that are there today, Dr. Frank Sabatino, Dr. Alan Goldhammer, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, they were doing this in the 90s. So I learned from the speakers, but as important is I connected with other people at the conference, other moms raising kids, whatever interest I had, the way you connect in any social situation, you connect, and then I'm still friends. So every year I would go back. It's just such a boost to my confidence level, to that sense of connection, to the idea of eating meals with 300 people for an entire weekend, and you can get anything you want without having to read all the labels and ask a million questions, and the kids can go and play and you don't have to worry about what they're getting into. And so how it's evolved since then is more cooked foods. There's so many more bloggers and YouTubers and influencers that are doing these great cooking shows. This year, we actually have a number of raw foodists coming to the conference. So we always have a huge fruit and salad bar. So raw food could eat plentiful anytime. But I've added like one raw food entree, so they get something more interesting to every meal. That's one of the things that's new this year. And the children's program is growing. We have 11 children from the ages of 4 to 13 attending this year. We are doing more activities. It started off like 2.5 days. Now we're closer to almost 4 days. It's people just look forward. We strive to always be the last weekend in June. I've been doing it in Cleveland because I design the menu. I provide every recipe, right down to if the recipe calls for ketchup, I'm telling them how to get salt-free ketchup and how to, everything's got to be made from scratch. And so I make food, I take it up to the chef, he makes food, I go up, I'm doing a taste testing on Thursday, but this is the second year with this chef. So I'm really confident. He did a great job the first year out the box. I'm sure he's going to do a better job this year.
I just want to add a couple things about the conference, Matt, that again, my roots are raw. That's, we'll talk about that a little bit, but 32 and a half years of my life, virtually half of my life was all raw. I am still raw. I mean, I enjoy a baked potato. I enjoy some brown rice, but my salad is my main course, and fruit and overnight oatmeal and things like that. That's what I do. And at our conferences, as long as I have a hand in it and Wanda has a hand in it, we are of the Joel Fuhrman school that your salad is your main course. And so at every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's a salad bar. Yes, there'll be an entree if you want an entree. There'll be a dessert if you want a dessert. But it's a fruit buffet, it's a vegetable buffet, and it's at every meal. And that's the way it should be. And that's just, and I guess the other thing that's unique about our conferences in terms of our meals is that we are SOS free. All of our meals are without added salt, oil, and sugar. And we realize that of the 350 people that are coming to this conference, they're not all that way. But we set up, kind of as I said on our website, we set up the gold standard. We show what's possible. And we set a standard for people to aspire to. And we're here to show that it not only is a goal, but it can taste great. You can fill yourself. You can satiate your tastes, and I think that's something that we do, as well as the magnificent array of speakers we have. We do meals, we think, better than anybody. And again, it is the gold standard of SOS free in this movement, because as vegan doesn't necessarily mean health. I mean, marijuana is vegan, potato chips are vegan, but that's not what we mean, and that's not what the National Health Association has stood for from our beginning. So that's something of which we're real proud. And when Wanda said about how we make the live stream interactive, that's really my specialty. I'm a theater guy, so I really enjoy being before the camera here. But I really do love to go, during lunch. We have a cart that follows me with a camera, and we take people on the salad bar. We talk to people eating lunch, watch their tables, and talk to them about what their stories are. So we really do try to make it interactive. And so for that $97 that you have, you not only have the access to the entire live stream and all the other bonuses that Wanda has figured out how to put in, but you have up to a year. In fact, for the last couple of years, we've never really taken them off. If you bought the replays, you've got them. And that's not just of the lectures, it's the workshops, it's the yoga, it's all of these things that we do. So it's a pretty neat thing, because even when people live stream, I don't know, I'm sure you've attended, especially during COVID, that's all anybody did was virtual conferences. To sit there, nobody can sit there for 72 hours. The idea of being able to, you want to watch something, and then you got to go, you got to take a phone call, you got to take care of your kid, you got to do whatever you got to do. You can come back anytime you want and watch it again and again and again if that's what you want. So we think we've come up with a pretty neat, valuable educational product that people can do, and I hope they'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree. It has the best speakers, doctors on this lifestyle. So if somebody wants to learn how to do this successfully, because there's a lot of people out there, talking about how to live this lifestyle, but it's not always the greatest information. So when you pull together so many of these incredible people to share how to do this sustainably and successfully long term, I think that's worth the value in itself right there. So I love your passion for salads. I have the same passion. And I just published a new book called 5-Star Salad Revolution. And you could have easily made what I call my green team. I tell people to find your green team, which is people that are, excited about healthy eating and about eating, more leafy greens and salads and things like that. And as Dr. Fuhrman says, make the salad, the main dish. So yeah, I'm right in alignment with you guys on that. And so I loved hearing that. And yeah, I heard you mention that even in the vegan community, it's difficult to find people that are eating, what we probably consider to be enough leafy greens. So yeah, I love that you touch on that and that you guys have that amazing salad bar and all those whole fruits and vegetables available for people.
Wanda never understood for years when we first got married, because for Wanda, it was that she wasn't born like I was in this. So, everybody's got their path, everybody's got their journey. But I remember, how when we were in the early years of our almost 32-year marriage now, we'd go to New York. I'm a theater guy. I love to go to New York and see shows and things like that. Well, where do you want to go to dinner? And when we'd go with the Fuhrmans, where do you want to go to dinner? Well, Joel Fuhrman and I, there's only one place we want to go, Whole Foods Salad Bar.
Yeah.
Because we can make our own. I mean, Wanda didn't get that for a long time. Now she gets that. And it's wonderful that we share that. But, it's a tough thing because vegan restaurants were not made for people that love salads.
Right.
They're not. I mean, let alone the SOS free and all of that stuff. Salads just don't really exist, sadly.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the great sad things about the explosion of veganism and vegan restaurants and vegan options. They don't usually mean salads. They don't mean salads like the green team means.
Yes.
They don't, sadly.
Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. And I say people have a low green esteem, right? So it's like their self-esteem.
I like that. I might take that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, steal that. We got to raise people's green esteem because, they just don't value the great benefits that greens have to offer. People just kind of think they're kind of like a secondary food. I think they should be at least half of the volume of what you're taking in. I mean,
we wouldn't have an obesity problem in this country.
Yeah,
if people loaded up on salads.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Now, I have to tell you, one of the greatest pleasures of our life is we now have a 1.5-year-old granddaughter. When she gets up in the morning, she pulls her toddler tower up to the Vitamix, and I bring out the kale and the spinach and the bok choy and the Swiss chard, and she just starts taking handfuls. Nice. And she knows that that's how her smoothie starts breakfast. And she loves it. That's what she expects when she's at my house. So it's great to find ways to develop that taste and appreciate it and love it from your earliest years of eating.
Yeah, I agree. It is so important to get kids started off early on healthy eating. So that's great. Mark, do you want to talk a little bit more about the Health Science magazine that you guys offer?
Sure. So, I may be a little bit biased because I'm the editor and I was the founder of it way back in 1978. But I think it is really one of the best magazines on the planet. And I say that because I think, as you can see, it's as high quality as any magazine you'll pick up anywhere. We don't scrimp on paper they are soy inks, by the way, I just want you to know. But we don't scrimp on quality of design and photography and font size and all the rest. But more importantly than that, in the health movement, in the space that we're in, if you go into any health food store and you pick up almost any magazine that they actually give away, they give you with every one of your packages and that, they're mostly just advertisements for supplements and for the latest health fad and all these products. And the unique thing that you'll notice about Health Science from our beginning 45 years ago, there's not an ounce of advertising in it. It is advertising free. Everything is just, interviews with the leading voices of our health movement. The last issue that just came out in the spring is with Colin Campbell. But we've done Caldwell Esselstyn, Joel Fuhrman, Michael Greger, Neil Bernard, you name the people, they have been, the feature interview. And in the interviews, people tell me that one of my greatest editorial skills in the magazine is I'm a pretty good interviewer. And I ask the kind of questions, people tell me I ask the kind of questions they wish they had asked or they like to see asked. And I sort of make it interesting and kind of more than you could interview every one of these people on lifestyle medicine, and they all agree on the same thing. We should get rid of processed foods. We should have plant-based diet. But I'm more interested when I talk to them is not just about their philosophy of health and whatever unique field they're in or specialty, but who they are. What was their journey? What's their family? What's their perspective on life? And so I think that people tell me anyway that the interviews are really interesting. They're in depth. They're not just a one-page thing. This is usually 4 or 5 pages of the magazine. So we have that. And, everybody likes recipes. But again, going back to what you find, if you buy Forks Over Knives magazine, which is great, 90% of it is recipes. Almost every vegan and vegetarian magazine are mainly, they'll have an obligatory article or two, but it's mainly recipes. And people love recipes. Well, we have recipes in Health Science Magazine. I don't say we don't. We feature in every magazine one of the leading SOS-free chefs like Tammy Kramer and Chef AJ and Brittany Giroudi and Dylan Holmes. And we'll have 4 or 5 kind of theme season recipes and all that. They're really good. But there's also testimonials, member spotlights, timeless teachings. Our magazine's been published. The predecessor of Health Science was a magazine called Natural Hygiene in the Journal of Natural Hygiene. Those were published in the 50s. And some of the things that these doctors were writing about them are as relevant today and as inspiring today as they were then. So the magazine often has timeless teachings, and there's other features in it. But again, it's advertising free. It's all about health. It's all about plant-based living. I think in a world where when you follow this lifestyle, you're not in a big community. Our magazine, I think, and our organization helps you stay in part of that community. And you get the magazine in the mail, every quarter. You get 40 pages of reading about, people that are living the same lifestyle like you are. That's support. Mm-hmm. That's really, a really valuable thing. And then we've expanded our educational efforts that we now have the Health Science newsletter, where we provide the best of health science. That's free, the best of health science. And the best of our recipes and things like that. That comes out about twice a month, and it's for free. So we do that. Then we just launched a Health Science podcast, like what you got, Matt. And we have Dr. Frank Sabatino, who's our Director of Health Education, who's one of the most well-read, well-rounded man for all seasons that you'll ever view. And he, we launch a new podcast almost weekly. I think we've done like 40, 50 episodes now just since January. And that's good. And that's free to people, and it's just what we are. So we're pretty proud of the magazine, and all of that content, all of that 40-page magazine that you get in the mail is for $35 a year. It's an amount that hasn't changed in probably 30 years. And the only way we're able to do that, because the cost of the magazine itself to print and mail it doesn't even cover the $35 membership, is we're a 501c3 and people donate. They donate to support the cause. We have an annual appeal to help keep health science a print publication, and people are generous with us. And so we've done well, but we're pretty proud. And when you become a member, by the way, for that same $35, you gain access to all 45 years of back issues of Health Science Magazine for free. Ebooks on the history of our organization are free. And even the predecessor publications are also free. So it's quite a treasure of content that we make available. But again, we're trying to do more and more and more and offer more content and be more part of the digital world that we're in now. But I'm pretty proud of the magazine, and I wish my computer could turn around, because I got a wall of, just since 2014 when I started publishing the magazine. I look up and can't believe that I've done like 30 some magazines that we've done. We have a great team that helps do it, but it's pretty good. And one thing that I always do on every podcast that Wanda and I are on, we're again a 501c3. We're not selling anything other than information. We do have the magazine though, and membership we do want. If people want to look before they leap, if they email mhuberman@healthscience.org or whuberman, but I do mhuberman because Wanda's got enough on her plate. I'll send them a free electronic copy of the latest issue of the magazine. And if they like it, and they want to join, I'll send them a print copy of that latest issue while supplies last. And I did buy a new because of the Campbell issue the Colin Campbell interview is maybe one of the best that I personally feel I've ever done, one of the best we've put together. And so if people join after they look, send them a print copy and they'll get a jump on their membership and they'll be well on their way. So that's the Health Science Magazine story. It's
Wow.
I'm pretty proud of the publication.
Yeah, I mean, you should be. It's incredible, and like you said, all that value for $35 a year, it's basically free. So,
And in terms of the recipe, I just want to say something more about the recipes.
Yeah,
the recipes. Wanda's has broadened our horizons in this organization because she reaches out on social media. So all of the chefs, all the recipes featured in the magazine come from people that Wanda reaches out to and has developed a network for, and that's pretty cool.
Nice.
And we do have on our website, the majority of our website is available to anybody. There are a few gated parts that you need to be a member. If you want to get discounts from our vendors, if you're going to buy a Vitamix, it pays to be a member because the discount you get as an NHA member will cover that membership for way more than a year. Or some food services are also there. But we also have a recipe section, and that is not gated. And you can see the e-cookbooks I create of our conferences. They're posted there. And so you get a virtual library of references. And there's one other thing we started in the last couple of years to, again, make this lifestyle enjoyable, because I always say this isn't a lifestyle of deprivation. It's a lifestyle of excess. It's excess that I never dreamed was possible before I learned about this lifestyle. So in that realm, I try and, tell my members, what is it you want? Because it's easy to stay in our box and do the same thing. They wanted to travel without having to source everywhere they're going to eat for every meal. And so we happen to have a life member that's an amazing travel advisor. We hooked up with Windstar Cruise Lines. We've used Lindblad, which is the National Geographic cruise line. And these are very small cruise lines that I've vetted that have incredible sustainability programs. We could spend a whole program talking about the value of that. These chefs are all in. Windstar has so learned the value of this. They've cross-trained every chef to cook this way. And any cruise, anytime you ever go on with Windstar, their menu now has if you see that leaf logo in the back on my sign, their menu has leaf logos all over the ship. Any menu that's served, you can eat this way, traveling with them. But we do group travel twice a year, and we sell out very quickly. We offer it to our life members first so they can get prime cabins. We're sold out for Costa Rica and Panama Canal. We might have 2 cabins left for Greece and Israel. And Iceland, we might have 5 cabins left. The one I'm extremely excited about that people can plan way ahead, February 2025, we're going to Tahiti. Many of the doctors like Joel Fuhrman are going with us. This is not a lecture series. This is his vacation too. He may give one lecture, but it's his vacation. His wife's going. The idea is to be able to vacation with like-minded people and eat healthy. And Windstar said, do you think you could sell the whole ship? And I'm like, I'm not chartering a ship that holds 300 people. I'm not putting our finances at risk. And they said, how about if we give you 3 months and we'll just see if you sell it? Well, in under a month, it's half sold. Wow. And so they said, okay, we believe you. They had 5 people that booked outside of our organization. They've contacted those 5 people, and they're telling them to get on another cruise or enjoy being whole food plant-based. There will be no meat. There will be no dairy. Every food what the cabin crew is eating, I'm not naive. They're eating whatever. Yeah. But for food served anywhere on the ship, whether it's room service or a cafe or evening or meals, it's all going to be whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free. And you can go to my website. There's an event tab. It has a drop down for plant-based travel. And if you want to travel with 300 people on a whole food plant-based cruise to Tahiti in 2025, they have given us a special rate starting at around, don't quote me, let's see, I can pull it up here, around $3,000 a person for 7 or 8 nights. Yeah, it starts at $2,681 a person is where that starts. Nice. So they've made it affordable, and there's even some extra perks you get if you sign up by July. You don't have to worry about planning so far in advance because they have an incredible cancellation policy. It's, things will happen for some people. $50 administrative fee, as long as you do it within 121 days of sailing, and you're good. So if you think you're serious and you think you want that kind of a vacation, just another offering that we have.
It's amazing, Matt. We did the first one of these on a, kind of a whim and see if this would work. Mm-hmm. We went in 2019, right before COVID. We went from Frankfurt, Germany to Amsterdam, up the Rhine River. And it was, again, I've been in this movement my whole life and always trying to find a baked potato in a restaurant or sneak out to a fruit market and buy something. It's the idea to be able to, for an entire trip, to have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner on your ship. Just come out, your clothes, you're packed, you just go from port to port, city to city, and go out for your activity, but come back to the ship and have your salad bar. How good is that? Yeah. I mean, it's a dream come true to travel. And it is, then COVID got in the way, but then, it started back up again right as COVID. We're coming out of COVID. We did Alaska. We did the Baja. We just did the Galapagos Islands, and we got great destinations. So again, it's kind of like what I mentioned earlier. What our goal is not just education, but support and a sense of community, and provide this. Because I often say when I'm interviewed that when you live this lifestyle like you and we do, mm-hmm. you don't get invited to dinner a lot.
No.
And you don't even invite a lot of people over to your dinner, because this is just not what people do. It's a pretty isolated lifestyle. Yeah. The idea to be able to travel with like-minded friends, just the fact that you're sharing that lifestyle, let's put the meals aside. You're traveling with people that share the same values about health and prevention and the environment and all that. That's really rewarding. Mm-hmm. Reassuring, and that's kind of what happens in our conferences. But boy, when you can vacation on a level, that's a real icing on the cake. It's pretty cool. It's a dimension of our organization that is new, but it's really enriching, and we're pretty excited about it. And obviously, we've touched a nerve because we've sold out the cruises we've done, and we're about to take over a whole ship to Tahiti, for God's sakes. By the way, this is just an interesting tidbit that in Ecuador, when Wanda did the cruise to Galapagos, I wasn't able to go, but when they did the Galapagos tour, mm-hmm. in Ecuador, it's all organic. It happens to be a country that has that value, so that not only did you have SOS beautiful fruits and vegetables, but they work with locally sourced organic farmers. How great is that?
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, but Windstar has changed even their excursions. They take us to farmers markets, and we get to see where the organic produce is. In the morning, I get up and I look out my window at 6 a.m. and you just see jetties coming back from port loaded as high as they are with, all these greens. And so it's farm to table, and they're supporting the local farmers and the communities that are typically, many of these places are underprivileged places. So they're creating programs to give back. In Tahiti, they've devoted tens of thousands of dollars to rebuild the coral. It's called Coral Gardeners, rebuilding the coral, one reef at a time. Mm. So they just fundamentally believe many of the things we believe. So I'm so impressed with both Windstar and Lindblad.
What do you guys have any like transformational stories that come to mind that like from people that have attended, health-wise or community-wise, where they've mentioned the friends that they've made and that sort of thing?
But the two that really come to my mind is, after the conference last year, one of the letters I got was they said they felt like they were in my living room. Mm. And I thought, wow, that's what I want to create. I didn't think of it in those terms, but that intimacy. And we could certainly be booking venues for 500, 600 and making the finances that go with that. Mm-hmm. If I do that, our attendees lose that intimacy. I am concerned about quality control of the food. So I don't know This place I thought held 400, but because of the space needed for AV equipment, it's 350. I'm not sure I want to go any bigger. I'd rather sell out and the people that come get a great experience. You need to sign up early to get there. Another benefit that I'll let a cat out of the bag, if you go to the virtual conference, every year we offer a VIP rate that only people who are attending in person or virtually get. That rate's not advertised. It's not offered. Monday, when the conference is over, it'll never be available again. So if you're paying $97 to attend the conference and you're thinking, oh, I want to go next year, you're going to have access to that VIP rate. And that just helps us keep rolling. So, I pay out an awful lot of money. This food, the way we do it, is not inexpensive, but that's where we're willing to put our money there because we want that experience. So feeling like they were in my living room just touched my heart like nothing else. And so you'll see the doctors hang out in the hallway, our board members, people, it's very intimate. It's very informal that way. And I'm going to share one transformational story. And this gentleman is going on our Tahiti cruise too. But there's a gentleman that we wrote up. I don't know if we did a member spotlight or a testimonial. His name's Harry Ball. And he was scheduled to have a heart transplant. And you're on a waiting list, and he's in his 70s, and he's like, geez, I really need this transplant. And he went to one of his appointments, and his wait list, he's still waitlisted, and the doctor said, I'm going to deny telling you this, but I don't remember which book, whether it was Joel Fuhrman, End of Heart Disease, or whether it was Caldwell Esselstyn. They both have two great books about cardiovascular health. And he said, just read that book and think about it. Harry read the book. He made all the changes 100% overnight, goes back for his next appointment, still thinking, I've got to get this heart transplant. How are things going? The doctors took him off the list within, I don't know if it was 3-4 months. That's been 3 years ago. He still doesn't need a heart transplant. I've heard of, we've all heard the stories of cardiovascular disease being reversed and autoimmune disease and diabetes for sure. Type 2 diabetes is like a 95% success rate.
Yep.
I've never heard of a heart transplant. I've never heard of, other than through a member in this organization, that a lady was legally blind and got off the legally blind list.
Wow. So
it's amazing stories to see. It used to be that nobody wanted to talk about cancer through food, but now that's common practice, and people are recovering from cancer. And I'll share that in 2013, I was diagnosed with stage 1 endometrial cancer. And I went and consulted with the doctors, and due to a number of reasons, I did have the surgery to remove the tumor. And my oncologist kept saying, I don't get it. Tell me more. You just don't fit any of the profiles. Your recovery is like 6 months, you're fine. And I just kept telling him my story. And so he said, the protocol is I'm supposed to follow a cancer survivor for 5 years. At 3 years, he's like, I need to be paying you. Just, you know how to reach me if you need me. I'm not going to ask you to schedule another appointment, because he wasn't helping me. I'd just go, we'd say hi, life's good. I'd say bye. And I'd come back home. Yeah. So it's just true that unbelievable. And to see age reversal, Mark's in his early 70s, I'm in my 60s. And we just feel so blessed when we go places, and the other people that just are not able to fully participate in life. I don't think twice about going on a vigorous hike or whitewater rafting or climbing the mountain. It's just, playing with our grandchild.
I got to tell you, Matt, that, she said she's a little bit younger than me. We went to Zion a few years ago, and she took me up. We went up to Angel's Landing, if you know what Angel's Landing is. And I'm thinking, all right, Wanda, what the hell am I thinking? Climbing up to Angel's Landing with no fences, no barriers to the end. And
oh, wow.
But it is her point is that I think the great blessing of this diet and lifestyle that we follow is that you really can, to a great degree, control your own health destiny here. Yeah. And I go to we have a very robust high school reunion class, and we've had our 50th and our 55th and all those kind of things. And so many of the people that are, if they're still living, a lot of them look like my grandparents. And And it's sad. It's sad that life is not kind because, you know, the consequence of degenerative diseases, whether it's to your eyes or how you walk, or you're on diabetes, or you're on dialysis, or whatever it is, it's sad. And kind of like Esselstyn says, so many of these diseases just need not be.
Yeah.
We really do. Healthcare is self-care. We really do control, you know, the keys to our own health destiny here. And that's the great blessing that I think Wanda and I think we enjoy, and that we love to share with the NHA. And again, going back to the magazine, every magazine has got these kind of testimonials and spotlights of people with all kinds of different conditions that people relate to. Say, well, hey, no, I had, like Wanda said, I had type 2 diabetes. I had ulcerative colitis that I suffered with for how many years? And the conventional approach is, you know, you got hypertension, you're on this medication for the rest of your life. You're on insulin for the rest of your life. And sadly, it need not be. One of the great books that we published in like the late 60s in an organization called The Greatest Health Discovery. Little green book about the history of our health movement and our association, but it is still waiting to be discovered. This diet and lifestyle by so many people. I went into Costco the other day. I love shopping at Costco because you can get great stuff, organic cherries, things like that. But
yeah,
I wanted to take a picture. I might even still do this and take it to the conference. Take a picture of their cafeteria there. It's frightening.
Yes, I agree.
Frightening. When you look, there's not you can't even get a glass of orange drink, I don't think, let alone orange juice. It's just unbelievable. So we still got a long way to go, but fortunately, as evidenced by the growth of our organization, by the sellout of our conferences, by the popularity of shows like yours and all that, there's a lot of great information for people that are seeking it.
Yep.
And that's, you know, what we all find pretty rewarding now. We can reach more people than we ever used to do. This is our 75th anniversary. And so one of the things that I'm doing is doing a little history of our association. And so we have our conferences that were starting in the 50s. And you look at, and you see these big crowds, because we were the only game in town where there was no internet.
Right.
Television was only even just kind of coming into its own. We had these gatherings where like-minded people could find community, and we're doing that better than ever.
Yeah. For me, it's like freedom is the biggest benefit of finding this lifestyle, because I as well, I grew up with asthma and eczema, and you know, I basically was given the impression that I was gonna just have to use my inhaler for the rest of my life. You know, I got on this lifestyle and it just went away, and so now I have no medications or anything. And yeah, it's just the freedom that finding this information and applying it to your life gives you, and the empowerment, you know, that you have control over the vast majority of your health outcomes. And going to this conference will only reinforce that information. Even if you've already been on this lifestyle, you know, going to this conference, learning the information, and just hearing from, you know, other stories like you just mentioned, you know, it's just it's a lifestyle of empowerment and of freedom.
There aren't many places where we all can go and just feel reinforced with our values, our teachings, and the way we're living our life. Most of us probably receive some form of criticism, verbally or otherwise, at least a couple of times a week. And we've all just gotten so used to it that it just, I know for me, it's just like, whatever. But to have a week and to be able to hug each other and just say, isn't this great? And share in that, and to watch other people with healing stories and coming back year after year. And we're the only conference that I know I have a registered 4-year-old, and I know I have a registered 92-year-old, and everyone in between, and that they're going to connect. We have 4 generations of families that come, the grandparents, the aunt, the parents, the children. It's just phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. I hope everybody takes advantage. Again, the link is in the description box down below. Check it out. You won't regret it. The early bird pricing, again, is available until June 10th. And the conference starts June 22nd. So,
right. And you're going to be there, right, Matt?
Yes. Well, virtually. Virtually, I'll be.
That's what I mean, virtually. So chances are people can chat with you. One of the other things I didn't mention on this virtual conference is take a minute and build your profile. Take a minute and explore the Hopin site. You can Google questions. You can let me know if you have, but being familiar with this Hopin site, going to the site on Chrome versus Safari is a big deal. That makes all the difference in the functionality. But build your profile, and then you can search for somebody else with a similar profile. If you're having a specific question, you're kind of anonymous depending on how you sign your name. So you can get as much or as little out of it as you want, but there'll certainly be something for everybody that you're not going to leave there thinking that $97 wasn't of value.
Right. Perfect. All right. Well, do you guys want to maybe talk a little bit about just kind of your introduction into the lifestyle and kind of how did you get introduced to the NHA in the first place, and kind of what was that experience like?
Well, I guess I came first, so the chicken or the egg, and I don't know which. I'm both, because literally, my parents were pioneers in this movement, and I happened to come along in 1951 when they started becoming enthusiasts for this way of living, and thought that the pristine diet from what they learned in the American Natural Hygiene Society was the Sheltonian diet, based on the writings and philosophy of Dr. Herbert Shelton, who wrote Fasting Can Save Your Life, The Hygienic System, Superior Nutrition, these great books back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. That was the lifestyle that my parents believed was ideal. That's truly where health results from healthful living. Healthcare is self-care, living in harmony with nature, organic gardening, and obviously eating things, to quote Colin Campbell, whole is what should be the goal. And so I was brought up that way. And, Chef AJ, one time when I was interviewed by Chef AJ, and I was telling my story, she said, when you write your book, you should call it Don't Get Started. And it should be about that, really, if you don't get started with junk food and all these kind of crazy perverted tastes in that, you'll understand, and your orientation will be towards natural foods. And I think that was certainly the case with me. It's the only thing I knew growing up was fresh fruits and vegetables, nuts and dates and avocados and mangoes and pineapples. And I grew to love it. And I had the same thing 3 meals a day for 32 and a half years. And finally, after 32 and a half years, I kind of looked in the mirror and said, well, am I following this raw food diet because I think I have to? Religiously, am I doing this? Or am I doing this because it's the only thing that I knew? And I kind of concluded that I was doing it only because it was the only thing that I knew. Because most of the doctors that I grew up with, a little bit older with, that I inspired and brought in as speakers, these people they weren't all raw. And a lot of things that I learned is that for a lot of people that certainly haven't started from birth, it's tough to maintain satiety on a raw food diet for a lot of people because their tastes just go in other directions. And for some people, in today, when they emphasize the importance of greens and beans and things like that, it's tough to get all of that raw.
Yeah.
And so the conclusion I came to is that pretty much I was following a strict raw food diet because it was the way I was brought up, is the only thing that I knew, but that it wasn't recommended as being a necessity for anything. In fact, some people have difficulty maintaining it, particularly with compromised stomachs as they get older and things like that. So I, lost my virginity at 32 and a half years old and ate a baked potato and some corn on the cob and split pea soup and things like that. And to this day, probably the only thing that's changed in my almost 72 years is that when I have dinner, my breakfast is still overnight oatmeal and fruit and things like that. My lunch is still a salad, maybe a pita pocket avocado sandwich. Dinner is still a salad. But if I don't have a baked potato or if I don't have some pea soup or something, I miss that. I kind of crave that. And I'll want, if I don't have it, it's okay. But I learned to enjoy it. So I'm still a pretty simple guy. Now it's more by choice than it is by kind of religion or behavior or anything like that, because I know now that having the salad as your main course is health giving. These are anti-cancer fighting. This is what builds and sustains health. So I suppose the most rewarding thing about my life is that everything that I was raised on almost as an ism veganism, a vegetarianism, a natural hygienism is now validated by science.
Yeah.
That's really rewarding and empowering. And I think as I look in the mirror and I'm looking at myself in the video screen, all right, I don't think I look 72 years old almost. I don't think I act like I'm 72 years old. Do I claim to be perfect health or anything like that? I do not. But I feel like I'm in control of my health destiny. Everything that I put on my plate and how much sleep I get and going to the gym 3 times a week. And I've learned to control my own destiny. So that's the Mark Huberman story. I grew up kind of almost religiously in this diet and lifestyle, but then now it's been validated scientifically. And I consider it, to use a religious metaphor, one of the great blessings of my life, that my parents had the foresight to give me those health foundations and those lenses through which to see the world is pretty cool. So that's the Mark Huberman story. Wanda's got a much more interesting story than me because I didn't have any choice in the matter. I just did what I did.
Yeah.
Well, I think mine was much more the up, down, not a straight line, not steady that so many people have.
Yeah.
And so when I met Mark, our careers are what connected us. The fact that we were each raising a young daughter independently, that connected us. And it really was a while before he talked about the food. But I was working 2 jobs, going to college, and a single mom. And his house happened to be between my house and my office. So he would often say, "Oh, do you want to come for dinner?" Oh my gosh, that would be so helpful. If I could pick up my daughter from school, she could play with Lisa, and they were 3 and 5 when we started dating. Those children are now 37 and 40, and they grew up as sisters. And Lisa was growing up whole food, primarily raw. My daughter was growing up on a standard American diet. It's just amazing how kids, after we had been dating a while, Mark's Jewish, I'm Christian, that didn't change. After we'd been dating a while, we would, instead of having separate babysitters, we'd share babysitters. And it happened that one night the babysitter was at my house, and we got home after seeing a show, and it's late and the girls are sleeping. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's tomorrow morning's Easter. At that point, I'd evolved to cacao chocolates and healthier stuff that I wouldn't eat today. Still health food, junk food, what I would call it. But that was part of my evolution that I did that. And I'm like, Mark, wake up. I've got another wicker basket. Do you care if I give Lisa an Easter basket? So she never had candy. She's Jewish. She never had an Easter basket. He's like, I don't care. She's 3. The kids really don't understand at all. Mm-hmm. So in the morning, the girls get up. They each have their basket. Lisa gravitates to the little stuffed animal that I had in hers. The candy was in these plastic eggs that you fill up. Yep. The innocence that will never leave my memory is that this wasn't food to Lisa. She had never had it. She opened up the egg, dumped it, and gave it to Heather. And then she just wanted to play with stuff that was familiar with her. She had seen other kids she went to daycare. She'd seen other kids eating that. She just knew that wasn't what they eat. So and to this day, she's a little gourmet vegan, but she's still vegan. And the older child has decided that that's not the lifestyle for her. So I don't judge any of my children. They are completely loved as they are, and they'll come to it or they won't. It's their journey, their life. But they know where we stand, and they understand our energy. The 40-year-old texted me today and said, "We're power washing our house. Do you think Dad wants to help?" You're 40 and you're asking him to come out, but that's what happens. He can do as much as they can do, and he often is helping and doing the garden, and we're blessed and love being able to do that for our children. And so my lifestyle was, I eventually went vegan or vegetarian, kept dairy in for a while. But when I went vegan, I was traveling. My career had me on the road a lot. It was highly processed vegan. The first time in my life, I started gaining weight. I never really had weight issues as a child. I ended up, after about 5 years of veganism, 50 pounds overweight.
Wow.
Because I just wasn't doing Whole Foods. I was using convenience. Mark, just like we don't judge our children, Mark didn't judge me. He always provided the food. I thought I was doing pretty good. I had that big salad, but then I'm traveling and eating crap, and it took a toll. And it wasn't until 2011, I'm in my 50s at that time, fortunately, I didn't have any health diagnosis, but I'm starting to feel not as mentally sharp, not liking the way I'm looking for never dealt with weight issues. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I called, I don't know if you know who Alan Goldhammer is, the founder of True North Health. He runs a water fasting retreat. And I called Alan and I said, here's what's going on. What do you think? And he says, I think you could use a reacclimation of your taste buds. You could use a physiological rest. I was working way too many hours. So it wasn't just the food, it was the stress and the lack of sleep and the no exercise, all those pillars that are important. And he said, I'll tell you what, call your HR department, tell them you're applying for FMLA, buy a one-way ticket and tell your husband he's on full duty for the kids were teenagers by that point. We don't know when you're coming home. And they were actually, I only had one at home. The older two were adults at that point. And so I went out there and I stayed for 6 weeks and I did a 19-day water fast, but I stayed and I worked with the exercise person and I worked on meditation and walking and just slowing down my life and saying, okay, if I'm going to take care of everybody else, this is my chance to take care of me. Yeah. And so I host a huge Christmas party at my house. There's about 50 of us when we invite my siblings and my dad, and their kids and grandkids. And I just called, my daughter's a great host. And I said, I'm not going to make it back for the party. Enjoy, Heather, it's on you. And they did it, but it was that light bulb moment that I finally put more of the pieces together. I wouldn't, it's a journey. I don't think it's not a destination. I'm still on that journey. I hope we're always learning. Yeah. And so that's why when somebody says, what do you mean your kids were raised with this? Or, I had all the best resources. I'd been going to conferences for 30 years. And it was still hard because nobody can do it for you. And so I often say it has to happen in your mind before it happens in your mouth or stomach. And so when I was willing to quit being so stubborn and sort of let go and accept that these ideas were true, I witnessed and seen so much, then I was able to enjoy all the blessings. And it was just life-changing. My career got better, my health got better, my relationships got better, I felt better. And I'm just so grateful every day that I gained the weight, that I had enough problems, that I had the reasons to stop and say. And I think that's women more than men, perhaps. You just don't think it's okay to stop and take care of yourself. And if you don't do it on your terms, how many of us have our friends that are doing it on the hospital's terms?
Right.
One of the great moments of my life, of our married life, is in 2011. When Wanda finally had her aha moment and decided on her own that this is the lifestyle she wanted to follow, not because Mark wanted her to do it or insisted that she do it or anything like that. She decided. She called me before she came home because I'm the shopper, so I always bought the Trader Joe's Amy's pot pies and the non-dairy creamers and the organic coffee and all that and the organic sulfite-free wine. And Wanda called me and told me she wanted the pantry empty when she got home. She wanted the Keurig gone. She wanted all those little cake cups, the organic cake cup, all gone. And of that Chef AJ mantra that if it's in your house, it's in your mouth.
Yeah.
But it was really, it was wonderful. Again, I kind of like Wanda said, I don't believe in this lifestyle of proselytizing about health or religion or politics or anything like that. You got to find it on your own. I married Wanda not because she was a vegan, but because, I love Wanda. But when she came to this on her own, that's pretty special. But it was, and so, going back to the old Whole Foods thing for dinner, now one doesn't mind going to the Whole Foods salad bar and packing sandwiches in the car and eating in the car on road trips. And
just this week,
it's pretty special to share that, I guess is what I'm really saying.
Yeah.
Is that, we had a wonderful marriage. but boy, to add that extra bit of glue is pretty special. And kind of what Wanda said, so many people, as I'm sure you know from your podcast and from your life, so many people do yo-yo on this. They go 2 steps forward, 1 step, because it's hard. The pleasure trap is real. The society pressures and peer pressure of kids and all that. The stresses of life are real.
Yeah.
But the true test is, can you sustain it? Well, this is Wanda. That was 2011. This is 2023. That was 12 years ago. Yeah. And I like to say that Wanda's younger than when I met her. And she is. I mean, and on all ways, not just that she looks great and all that, looks like she did when we got married.
I don't know.
But to enjoy life, to find satisfaction out of life, to look in the mirror and smile, not because of vanity, but because, boy, we're making good decisions in life. Mm-hmm. That's when you've really won this battle of life, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you both exemplify that. I mean, and you guys are really like the perfect combination. So it's great that you guys do interviews together because, like Mark, you've been doing this from day one, and you're a great example of the many benefits that living this lifestyle can have. And then people that can't relate to that, Wanda has her story of having the ups and downs, which I think more people, of course, are going to relate to that because, as you said, life just, it makes it our culture, our societal structure, it just makes it difficult. Although it is getting a little easier, but I think it's still, it's not obviously as easy as maybe some other lifestyles out there. But yeah, you guys have a great message and I love it. And I love that, people can connect with so many different areas of both of your stories. So that's really cool.
And I like to say too, that maybe the greatest blessing of this lifestyle is that, everybody often says it's the food and the food is everything. And to me, and I think also to Wanda, food is wonderful and it's enjoyable and it's fuel and all that, but boy, there's so much more of life is travel. And at our age, I mean, I've got friends that couldn't even dream of going on a cruise, couldn't even dream of going on a hike or a bike ride or that because they don't control their own health destiny. So to have to understand and adhere to the blessings of this life, it's what it gives you to be able to travel, to go to theater, go to ball games and all that and enjoy it is that's the real
just planting flowers together, working in our yard. I often say, if the kids need us and we're not traveling, that's fine too. Just we have a beautiful park system around us and just to have your health and do stuff right around where you live.
By the way, that's one of the other cool things that we do at our conference we've done the last several years that we're doing this year is that we have this the conference officially begins at 1:30 on Friday, 23rd. But on the 22nd, we've added this bonus session where at night, Thursday evening, Vitamix sponsors a reception. And it's not your typical reception with wine and cheese. This is our kind of reception. It's great. And then we have a documentary. But Friday morning, for the last several years, we take 5 buses of people to the Cuyahoga Valley National Forest for hikes.
Wow.
Nature free. It's just part of people don't pay an extra fee for the ticket. These are courtesy luxury buses and all that we take. But it's all, again, just part of the lifestyle in the community that we're trying to see. It's more than food. Mm-hmm. It's really a lifestyle and it's with nature.
I have to throw in, so I rented 5 buses and I do easy hike, moderate hike, and hard hike. Because again, I've got 4-year-olds and 90-year-olds. I want everybody to enjoy nature at a safe spot. All the kids are going on the hard hike. I'm sure they'll I don't know about the 4-year-old, but from 6 and over, I know they are. Yeah. And I had to change the easy hike. We only had like 10 people that wanted it. Everybody wants something more aggressive, more back to nature. So this year, for the first time, Vitamix is opening up their world headquarters to us. Wow. And so we're getting a lot of people. I have probably 150 people want to go to Vitamix World Headquarters and see their interactive museum and meet the chef in the culinary kitchen. And they're opening up the homestead. And so we'll have time to do that and get a shorter hike in. But there's still some that says I'd love to see it, but Cleveland is one of only 2 cities in the world, I think, that have national parks within the city. And we have the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The park rangers are thrilled that we're bringing so many people to hike, that they meet us there. They lead the hike, so I can take all these different groups in different directions, but I don't have to micromanage that. I just give everybody the ticket to get on the right bus.
So you got to come next year, Matt.
No, I'll be there. It sounds incredible. There's really, I've never heard of a conference that offers all these different things. So that's enough incentive for me to sign up.
Terrific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been outstanding. It's been so cool to meet you guys. And again, I just really respect everything that you're doing, and just the way that you do it. I love your attitude and just, how you promote the lifestyle is really great. I think there's a lot of people out there doing it, but you guys are top notch at doing it. So thank you for all your work and for everything that you continue to do. Is there anything that you guys want to leave us off with?
Best thing is certainly join the organization, support us for that $35. It means the world to us. It is what motivates us to keep doing it. And
truly send an email to mhuberman@healthscience.org. I'll send you a complimentary copy of the latest issue of Health Science Magazine, an electronic copy. And if you like it, you like what you see, join, you'll get a print copy of it and you'll be on your way.
And there is one other freebie site we've created for those that are on Facebook. Go to the National Health Association Plant-Based Travel. National Health Association Plant-Based Travel. And you'll see all the food and the travel, and we've got over 2,000 people following that as well. So we have healthscience.org to get all the information, and you'll see the events, but it'll keep you abreast. This is just in the rumblings. We're talking about doing a summit this year that might, we just want to keep getting content out to people.
Yeah.
I'm going to really put Mark on the hook here. But one of the things that's been a goal, and almost an unreachable goal because of all the levels of things we do. And I'm also helping to care for my 85-year-old father. So we do have our personal lives. There's children, grandparents, parents, grandchildren, no grandparents for me. He's going to write a book.
That would be
and
great.
We have a publisher, and we have a date to get started in July. Neither of us know much about that process. We don't know where the book's going to go, how much is going to be the story of natural hygiene. And hygiene, for your audience that doesn't know, that name came about with hygiene just meaning the science of health. But because that was too confusing, that's why it was changed to something a little more easily understood. But I'm excited. Mark has so much knowledge that when he's not able to write that or tell that story, I don't know who else will be there that can tell that story. So I'll admit to being a little pushy about it and why I'm putting him on the hook, but we've done some real things to set that in motion.
Yeah. Yeah, I look forward to that. And I know, I've written a few books now, and having a deadline definitely gets the wheels moving. So hopefully that gets you going, Mark.
And one more thing, I talked about that swag bag. I believe you're putting up one of your books in the swag bag too, right?
Yes.
So
yep.
Your audience will get access to that. There will be a lot, there'll be a number of books and coaching sessions and the raffle, things that are being given away, are like Vitamix is going to raffle off their immersion blender.
In fact, we think you may be hearing it here, but I believe that WinStar is donating a cruise, one of our cruises.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just don't know that that's going to make it to the virtual conference. I'm working on a way. I'm doing a little research on how I can make that maybe a silent auction bid. But in true honesty, I don't know that I can put all that together. If I can, I want to include the virtual audience and have the ability to get a cruise, but I haven't. They've just sent me a teaser email. I don't really know what that means to date, but stay tuned. Things are changing every day.
Yeah, it's exciting, and that would be incredible. A cruise in there would be cool, but even without it, it's still more valuable than the cost of $97. So everybody definitely check it out. again, all the links to all of these resources that Mark and Wanda just talked about are going to be in the description box down below. So don't miss out. You only got a few days left to get that early bird price and get in on the virtual attendance and really bring in all this valuable information to help you, achieve health freedom and take control of your health destiny and your life in general. It's not even just about physical health. It's a community, it's spirituality, it's mental health. All these things can improve with living more in alignment with this philosophy. So yeah, thank you, Mark and Wanda, for just sharing everything that you've shared today, and again for the continued work that you both do.
Thank
Can't
you
wait
so
to meet
much,
you,
and I
Matt.
hope everybody gets to enjoy the nice Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, for sure. All right. Thank you, guys. Again, everybody, check the links in the description box. And until next time, always follow your raw intuition.